Hello everybody, and welcome back to Controlled Chaos Gaming. Today, we're showcasing Lugia Vstar, featuring the brand new Iron Hands EX. This deck is very powerful and can swing prizes in your favor very easily with that Amp You Very Much attack. They also have access to Lugia Vstar's Summoning Star, which puts 2 Archeops into play. And with an abundance of attackers, they can pull for many different scenarios. Its opponent is going to be Roaring Moon EX, which we featured in our last video. This is the same list featuring the Pidgeot V and Forest Sealstone combination, also using cards like Morpeko and Brute Bonnet. Let's see who takes this match, but right before that, take a look at our sponsor. Head on over to Kayfabe Cards in Riverton, Utah for all things tabletop. This store is home to Pokemon, One Piece, Flesh and Blood, and more, selling both singles and sealed product in-store and online. You'll find their massive assortment of Pokemon plushies, sleeves, deck boxes, and other staple products. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to Kayfabe Cards. We'll see you there. And it looks like we're starting off here. On the right side, we've got myself playing Roaring Moon. Looks like a Pidgeot start here and a Morpeko on the bench. Going first, it looks like, so we'll have the advantage with the opponent playing Lugia Vstar, and that's going to be Zach on the left side. So, talking about whether you should go first or second with the Roaring Moon deck, I think that it's totally up to you, but first means that your opponent doesn't go first, which seems pretty good. Here we go, we've got a Roaring Moon off the top and a Town Store being played down. This is going to allow both players once during their turn to search for a tool card. This is likely going to be a Forest Sealstone or an Ancient Booster. Oh, but it looks like the Forest Sealstone is prize, so it's going to be that Ancient Booster energy. Capsule. Jeez, that's a lot of words. This matchup is really interesting because Lugia Vstar has 280 HP, meaning Roaring Moon cannot instantly KO, Roaring Moon cannot KO it with its second attack and has to use Frenzied Gouging, which does 200 damage to itself. Ironically enough, the best attacker in the Lugia deck is that Snorlax, which does have the ability that prevents that insta-KO from working. So you do need to discard a Stadium in order to knock out a Snorlax, which could be interesting and might come up later in this game. Looks like we see a Squawkabilly benched and a Dark Patch used, as the Squawk and Seize is used on that first turn to grab 6 brand new cards. Gonna see a Switch Cart to promote that Morpeko, and looks like debating a Brute Bonnet bench here, and it looks like they are gonna bench that Brute Bonnet. So Brute Bonnet, of course, not very good without the Ancient Booster capsule, but could potentially be good later on. We see a Great Ball over on the Lugia side here, really looking for a Lugia Vstar or a Lugia V, and does not get either of them, but does have Mesagosa, and it looks like they'll use that. Looks like it's going to be a heads there, so definitely going to grab one of those Lugia V. Ideally this turn, they'd like to use either Professor Burnett or Professor's Research, so likely going to have to Luminion for one of those cards. Bruh. Unless they have it in hand. So it's going to be a Professor Burnett from hand, discarding 2 Archeops and getting the Summoning Star online second turn for sure. This Professor Burnett is always really good on turn 1 or 2 because you're not wanting to use boss's orders, and ideally Iono is better for the late game instead of the early game. So we're going to see that Professor Burnett, and then a pass over to the Roaring Moon side, who is going to attach to that Roaring Moon. And, oh, actually, my bad. Just adjusting it. Looks like we're going to see a Luminion here. This is to prevent an Escape Rope knockout. I actually really like this play from Zach here on the Lugia side. So using that Luminion for an Iono for next turn. Now onto the Roaring Moon side. Okay, going to, looks like Mesagosa here, and does get a head, so going to grab that second Roaring Moon and use that Pidgeot V's ability to put it back into the deck, leaving space for that Luminion V, another really good play. And looking at the options, looks like Professor Sada is not the choice, considering there are 0 Dark Energy in that discard pile. Instead, going to opt for the Professor's Research, also a Sada card. I hope this is not the trend for Scarlet and Violet. It's going to get really confusing soon. Here we go. We see a jet energy attached to that Roaring Moon is going to make its way to the active, and a Professor's Research here to draw 7 brand new cards. Looks like debating what they want to do. It's going to be a Dark Patch here onto that Roaring Moon. It's really good to get a second Roaring Moon established, and it looks like they're going to use that second attack Calamity Storm to discard Mesagosa and do 220 damage. Back on the Lugia side, it's going to be the Lugia Vstar here, and they're going to be able to use that Summoning Star, now just looking for alternate attackers. So that heads there on the Capturing Aroma means that it's an evolution Pokemon, which they are going to grab an Archeops. We might potentially see that Iono this turn, or we could see a Research potentially. Both are really good options this turn. We're going to see a Jet Energy on the active Lugia, and looks like that Iono is going to be played. So Iono going to shuffle both players' hand and put it at the bottom of the deck. The Roaring Moon player grabbing 4, and Lugia player grabbing 6. I'm going to see an Ultra Ball here, likely grabbing that Snorlax or Iron Hands for a potential second attacker. And it looks like it is that Snorlax. So we're going to see this Primal Turbo here activate. And the Primal Turbo is likely going to grab a double Turbo because that 220 damage is not going to matter. And that Gift Energy, of course, if they do not use Frenzied Gouging for a knockout, would be very good. We're also going to see the Gift Energy onto that Luminion just in case a boss's orders is used. This is a very good tactic to prevent your opponent from getting easy KOs without you receiving any value. And we're going to see that Tempest Dive here for 200, but thanks to that Emergency Jelly that was attached turn 1, it's actually going to heal 120 damage. Going to draw for turn here. We see, looks like a Sada's is in hand, but might not be able to attach both Dark Energy. Actually, there are 0 Dark Energy in the discard pile, so is going to retreat into, looks like the Morpeko. And we're going to see that Professor Sada's Vitality. Going to attach to both Roaring Moons and draw 3 cards. Really good synergy with this deck to retreat and use that Sada's to repower up those same Pokemon. We're going to see a switch card into the Undamaged Roaring Moon, an attachment for turn. And we're going to see an Earthen Vessel here. Grab a couple energy out of the deck. Another really good addition to the Roaring Moon deck. So with this Frenzied Gouging knockout on this Lugia Vstar, they are going to be left with 30 HP remaining, which means that both Snorlax and a potential Iron Hands can take a really easy KO. So we're going to see exactly that Frenzied KO, the Frenzied Gouging KO, so they're going to go to 2 prizes remaining, but we're going to see an Iono to 2. This is a really strong play, of course, preventing the Roaring Moon player from getting anything established. We are going to see the Primal Turbo here, likely attacking with that Snorlax, as it cannot be Frenzied Gouging for the knockout. Looks like debating which energy they're going to attach here. Could potentially attach Jet Energy, Double Turbo Energy, and the Gift. Looks like it's going to be the Double Turbo and the Gift, though. And using another Primal Turbo here to grab a Double Turbo and attach it to that Archeops. Definitely a really strong play here, as if one Archeops goes down, that Archeops can accelerate to itself or something else and have a way to retreat. So there we go. We're going to see the knockout on that Roaring Moon, and back over to the Roaring Moon side. They cannot use Frenzied Gouging for the knockout, so they're going to have to find a Stadium card. We're going to see another Earthen Vessel to just thin out the deck, grab 2 Dark Energy here. And they have an Ultra Ball, but there is nothing left in the deck for the support Pokemon. Of course, can go get Radiant Greninja, but that is not drawing cards. Oops, it looked like they picked up all 3 energy. So, should be 1 in the discard pile. We'll see if it ends up mattering. Looks like it's going to be a boss's orders on that Roaring Moon here. Wow, and the Iron Hands benched here is going to be able to power that up with the Primal Turbo that's still with that remaining energy. It looks like a Double Turbo and potentially a Therapeutic Energy. Actually, a V-Guard Energy. So, this Snorlax, though, is going to be swinging for 160 damage, which is exactly enough to take out that Roaring Moon and is going to leave the Roaring Moon side with, funny enough, no Roaring Moon. Again, there should be one more Dark Energy in the discard pile, so we're going to see, looks like a Pokestop here. Trekking Shoes, gonna keep, nope, actually discard that Dark Patch, and we're gonna see an Ultra Ball here. Should not have been able to use this Ultra Ball, but, you know, we'll let it slide this one time. On the Roaring Moon side, they really need to use Professor Sada's Vitality and not Iono, so this Iono is going to set both players back, but more importantly, this Roaring Moon deck is not going to be able to do hardly anything. They do have access to this Earthen Vessel, is going to be able to attach one energy to that Roaring Moon, but cannot attack this turn, and definitely is not going to be taking a knockout next turn on anything anytime soon. So back over to the other side here. If they find an electric energy on that Lugia side, they're going to be able to use Ampy very much to take a knockout on whatever they send up. So it's going to be the Brute Bonnet here. Oh, but with the double turbo, they actually can't take a knockout on this Brute Bonnet, so the double turbo actually hurting them here. We're going to see a Primal Turbo once again. And yeah, it looks like they don't have an option to boss this turn, otherwise they likely would have used it at the beginning of the turn. So they're likely going to be content taking a knockout on this Brute Bonnet, going down to one prize card, but could potentially be scary for them going forward. And it looks like they're just going to use Thumping Snore here with that Therapeutic Energy, does not go to sleep. And looks like the Roaring Moon side still not getting much of anything. They've got a Radiant Greninja, but that's about it. Yeah, looks like they're going to grab that Radiant Greninja. Does have access to one concealed cards, but if they don't find a Professor Sada's Vitality, this game is going to be over. And we're going to see a Pokestop. No! The Professor Sada's Vitality goes down. If they had used concealed cards first, they would have found it. So, looks like going to use a Nest Ball here, thin out the deck, and grab that last Roaring Moon. So, looking really rough here for the Roaring Moon side. They are not able to piece together a knockout and are going to have to send up a Roaring Moon themselves in order to not get KO'd. Back over to the Lugia side here. They draw for turn. They are going to need that boss's orders in order to take a knockout this turn for game. And it looks like they've got an Ultra Ball, discarding the last Archeops. Do they have another Lumineon? No, they don't, but they do have Mew, and are going to be able to use that Restart ability for at least one card. This Restart could potentially find them the boss's orders to win them the game this turn. We're going to see a Mew, and let's see here. Debating what they're going to do. It's going to be a Jet Energy to the active. They're going to restart for 2 cards here. Do we see the boss's orders? Face up, of course. Oh, and it's the first card! That is incredible. That's going to be a boss's orders on the Squawk ability for a knockout with that Thumping Snore doing 160 damage, taking the game. Really appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. If you want to see these deck lists, they are always available in the Discord. And as always, my name is Andy, and this has been Controlled Chaos Gaming. We'll see you guys next time.